Hello, beautiful moms and entrepreneurs. My name is Charisse Walker, and I'm your host of the Unbreakable Mompreneurs podcast. This is a place where we come together to learn, grow, and inspire. So sit back, relax, and let's get started. Hello, Unbreakable Mompreneurs. My name is Charisse Walker, your host, and today I'm here with Julie Cyvonne. And this is sometimes a controversial subject that we're going to talk about. And I've had a previous guest on, and the more I learn about it, the more I think, okay, it's definitely not for everybody, but for those people that it is for, definitely can be beneficial. So if you're struggling and you feel like here in Utah, it used to be called the Prozac capital of the world, and it's not anymore. But if you feel like you don't want to take medication, you'd rather go natural or try to figure out how you can relieve your anxiety, your depression, or anything else you're struggling with, then today's your day. So without further ado, Julie is in the house, and I'm going to let you introduce yourself.
Well, thank you so much. And I really love what you said about it's not for everyone. That is something that I feel is just fundamentally missed. And today's social media presentation, we get sold this like you have to do 75 days hard or you have to journal first thing when you wake up. And I don't believe you have to do anything, especially the work that I do with psychedelics, microdosing, or having a larger guided dose. And I think that's just a really important distinction to make because we're definitely sold this idea of like, no, 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 I have the secret formula that if everyone did, then all our problems would be fixed. But yes, I'm a psychedelic facilitator. I'm a high performance coach, and I used to be an attorney. I was an attorney, and I was really struggling with my own mental health, particularly anxiety and depression. And I went so far as to leave the law. I got certified to coach, which was great. I was doing primarily executive coaching, but in between getting certified to coach and in an immersive program and going to therapy, trying Prozac, when you say that, and Prozac, reading books, listening to podcasts, meditating, changing my diet, working out. There was still this like it's almost like it's so funny because I do have a little piece of glass in my foot right now that I cannot get out of. Can't get it out. But I do feel like that's how my anxiety was, where I was just like, what is happening? Like by all accounts, if we were to look at one of my favorite like measures of success that I always come back to is my side of the street clean, which to me means like I can't control you. I can't control things, lots of things in the world, but I can control me, how I show up, what I'm doing, etc. And I felt like my side of the street was really clean in my pursuit of understanding my anxiety, getting rid of it, but it just wasn't happening. And so I found psychedelics for that, and I found it for me. It wasn't my intention to make it my business. It was never an idea, but through talking about it, through the healing journey I went on and sharing about it, people just wanted this. Like they were so excited about it, and there is a lot of buzz around it. And so I pursued psychedelic facilitation, which is different than coaching. It's its own thing. Around do you understand dosage, contraindications, how to handle a possible aberration, etc. And I combined those two things to make the business I have today. And I've been doing this for 4 years, this specific working with psychedelics.
Okay, so I want to back up a lot for a second.
Okay.
We'll come to here because on this show, we talk a lot about women who are maybe they have a W-2 or maybe they have a safe job and then they decide, I don't feel fulfilled or I'm not happy or I don't know what to do. And so they end up opening their own business, might be on the side gig, and then eventually full time. And so let's be honest, being an attorney, that takes a lot of time, that takes a lot of
Mhm.
money.
Mhm.
And so for what made you decide, and you talked about your depression and anxiety and stuff, but what industry were you in or what niche and what made you decide, wow, I don't care how much schooling, what preparation, the fact that I had to take this bar and pass it and then I've been practicing, it's just not for me and I'm going to go a different direction. Because most people, I have a very close family friend who is the eternal martyr and hates their life, but they're still an attorney because it makes such good money.
I wish I could give them a hug, but let's go back even a little bit further because to be honest, I didn't have some childhood dream of like being an attorney. I didn't really know what I wanted to be when I grew up. When I was little, I was like, I want to be a marine biologist. I thought sharks were cool. But
My
in high
daughter is
school,
the same.
really?
Yeah,
Yeah,
she
I
says
thought
that all
sharks were
the
cool. I was like, I'll be a marine biologist.
That's funny.
Uh, Nothing really like took hold for me though. And then in high school, my high school debate partner had cancer. She had cancer 4 times. And I'll just say this at the beginning so no one's thinking, oh, she died. She didn't die. She's alive, but she almost died. She had cancer 4 times. And the last thing that saved her was a total stem cell transplant. And it was very tense. And that was, we knew, like, that we were 18 and we all knew if she doesn't come out of this, and it is something very intense where you have to be quarantined because you have no immune system in that process. If this doesn't work, she's dead. Like, it's not happening for her. And so that's a lot to go through as a high schooler. And she was one of my best friends. She was my debate partner. We were debate champs. And this person who I met running cross country, she's very fit, she has hair, like she's happy, and she's now like puffy, bald, and thinks she's dying because she is, right? And so she says to me, crying, Julie, will you cure cancer? And so what are you going to say? Like, no, Brenna. As a matter of fact, I won't. So of course I'm like, yes, okay, because she is dying. And so I go to college with the intention to go to med school. And I go to this med prep thing and there's blood in the emergency room and I'm like, oh, I cannot handle this. I could love someone so much, but if there was an accident and they were splurting blood, I would walk away. I would call the police, but I would leave. And so I'm thinking, okay, well, this isn't going to work. What am I going to do? And so this is very me and this is very unromantic and I would not suggest this to someone, but I literally got out a piece of paper and I made 2 columns like, don't like, good, not good. And I landed on lawyer. Is that a crazy way to decide your profession? Not good. So I did. I really, I don't regret going to law school. Law school is a completely unique experience. No one is ever going to have the experience of what it does to your brain. Have you not gone to law school? It just changes the way you think. So I'm happy that I went. But then I was having this moment where I was practicing and I was clerking for a judge. So clerking for a judge basically means you're working in their chambers, you're helping them like write opinions and doing the research for the cases, et cetera. Because I didn't really know what practice area I wanted to go into. And there was this case where there were 2 black men and they were walking. I was working in the appellate court in Illinois. They were 2 black men and they were walking in an alley and a cop said they saw the hands reach out, but they like never saw them touch. And one of the guys came out with alley, had drugs, and the other guy got charged with distributing because they said the guy, passed him drugs, and so that's how he got them. And I was talking to my judge about it, and I'm just thinking, like, okay, well, they never saw them touch. Like, we can't really prove that this guy gave the other guy drugs. Like, the intent piece needs to be there in a criminal case. And my judge was an old white guy and he was a former cop. And he was like, there's no way 2 black guys were walking down an alley without like a drug deal. I was like, oh my God, like this cannot be the justice system I'm working for. And then, your listeners might be like, this girl talks really fast and has a lot of energy. And I do. And the law takes forever. It is such a protracted process. I don't care if you have a traffic violation like that, it takes months sometimes to get figured out. And it's just like, I do not have the patience for this. And ultimately, I naively thought, oh, I'll go to law school and I'll make a difference. But if 2 people enter legal proceedings, neither of them is going to be 100% happy at the end of it, right? Like, I don't care if you win $1 million, it's probably because you lost a foot or something. Or, divorce, like, no one leaves divorce thinking, like, yay, let's do this again next week. So it just made me realize I'm not helping people. It takes forever. The system is messed up. I just want to make a difference, whether it was because my friend was dying or I was going to go to law school. I just want to make a difference. And it might sound naive or trite to people listening to me, but the work that I do now, I see people become happier and ultimately hurt people hurt people. And I know that the work I'm doing and the ripple effect I'm having by helping people become happier people it means that they're treating others better. It means that they're being better parents to their kids. It means that the work that I'm doing makes a difference and I see the difference immediately and it ripples out.
Thank you. That's amazing. I love your story. See, I'd love to hear the story of how you get to where you go because I know there's people listening right now that are thinking, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. I don't know. And so the fact that you made your tea, your tea decision making. I mean, I have a similar, my dad came into town and we went through the catalog, the course catalog, because back then we didn't have internet. And so, you know, here's like, he went by each program and read the description. He's like, are you interested in that? I'm like, no. And then, and so, I mean, kind of similar. It's whatever you're interested in. So I'm glad that you're found it, but I'm glad that you've now found what's really working. And so let's, for those that don't know, let's talk about psychedelics and what are
Yeah.
they? Because there is a stigma around it, and we'll talk about why too.
Yeah, so psychedelics are really anything that change your perception, change your paradigm, and that can be like literally in how you're viewing things, right? That's kind of like the stereotypical trip that we hear about, like crazy colors and things have odd shapes, but it's also changing paradigms in our head. So what's really cool about psychedelics is that you can see this on an fMRI scan. They increase new connections and new activity in the brain that isn't normally turned on. And so for people who really struggle with anxiety, depression, OCD, addiction, or PTSD, which is characterized by frequenting the same connection over and over and over again, often to our detriment, right? Whether it be like I have to have a drink, or I need to like obsessively open and close the door, or I'm just thinking about the situation and replaying it in my mind. Whatever the frequented sites are, we
Mhm.
want new ones. We want fresh connection. And it is something that gives your brain evidence that other things are possible. Because I'll say for myself, I had a moment when I was practicing, sitting on my couch, and I just sobbed thinking, I am never going to not be anxious. I felt so doomed by having some level of anxiety, regardless of all the good effort I was putting into. And once you see that it's possible to not think like that and for your mind to be like a happier place to be, it's like, wow, okay, something else is available to me. And have you heard of the jumping flea experiment?
Oh, yes, actually.
Yeah, so if you put the flea in the jar, it habituates to 6 inches, right? But in reality, the flea has the capability to jump like 10 feet in the air.
Mhm.
And I was the flea in the jar. And I thought my jar would always be anxiety. And it was like psychedelics took off the jar, and I saw like, no, no, no. Other things are possible, and they're way better than what I have been experiencing.
So with that, because some people that aren't familiar, does that mean that you're high?
Oh, that's a great question too. So if you're having a full dose, right, then yes, you're definitely impaired. I do offer like retreats, right, where people can come have a full guided intentional full dose of psychedelics. And it is like no driving. You are going to see things. It's an experience. But microdosing is truly subperceptual, meaning like I can microdose and go to the gym. I can microdose and you can pick up your kids from the line at school or make dinner, operate heavy machinery. Like you're totally fine. It is not an impairment. It is less than having a glass of wine or eating a gummy or taking a Benadryl. I know for me, Benadryl really gets me woozy.
Yep.
It's something that I like to say it adds a little bit more sparkle to your day, and this is the thing that almost everyone tells me. They say, Julie, someone cut me off in traffic today, and instead of flipping in the bird and hoping like, so's your mother, they say, well, I guess I really needed to get somewhere quickly. And they can just like things roll off their back a little bit more. There's more ease. That's a big one that I hear as well too. Like things just have felt easier, where normally it's like such an effort to get up, get my kids up, get to work, do my work, like have time to talk to my husband like a human being at the end of the day. They're like, no, life just, there's not the same resistance.
And I've heard that a lot. So is it legal in the US?
Well, there's 13 states right now that have 13 states that have initiatives of decriminalization. States where it's like totally legal, Colorado and Oregon, and then Washington, D.C., which is always doing its own thing, right? New Jersey just passed an awesome bill for psychedelics for therapeutic purposes. And right now I'm feeling it's just like, it's all like cannabis, right? Where cannabis was like 5 years ago. I mean, even me, I live in Kansas City. I know we said that before we started recording.
Mhm.
And I live on the Missouri side, which has legal weed for recreational purposes, right? But if you go to Kansas, which is literally a road called State Line, it's illegal. And it's just like, what sense does this make? If you cross the street, now you're suddenly committing some crime. And then even when we look at cannabis, it's still federally confusing,
Mhm.
right? And so I see psilocybin moving in the direction of cannabis moving even quicker, especially because there's so many new research studies coming up about this can help you. Like this is healing. This isn't like I'm trying to escape or do a drug. I'm working on myself. I want to be happier. I want to be better.
And that's the thing that's interesting to me because I gotta be honest, like I'm one that's never had a drink, never had a smoke, never had a
Good for
drug,
you.
right? But I deal with chronic pain every single day of my life. So a Celebrex I will take not every day, but as needed. And it's like easy to pop a pill. There's so many times, I mean, I could tell you, and don't come like raid my house because I've gotten rid of them all. But there was a time because I had so many surgeries and different things where like pain pills I collected,
Mm.
not that I ever used them, but in case I needed them, right? And so
Yep.
it's like, okay, I think I can get rid of those now. But because they actually like make me high. They don't like I can't sleep, I can't do it. It's the opposite of what
Oh,
you
for
said.
sure. I feel the same way with the
Yeah.
pain pill. I had it after surgery. I was like, what is
Yeah.
this?
And so it's like, okay, this is the opposite effect. No wonder I can't get addicted to it, right? But my point is, like, those are such big pharma stuff that,
Hmm.
like, I had somebody on recently that she talked about astrology and the energy that's involved. And it's like, why can't we look at more herbal ways of dealing with things rather than big pharma? Because I got to be honest with you, I think that something that's natural that grows out of the ground is way better than something that's developed in a lab. I don't know.
One, I'm so happy you brought this up because we look at things like, let's just go back to opioids, right? I mean, we are in an opioid epidemic. When we look at, those shows that have looked at the history of how we got here, those big pharma companies knew the addictive of properties of opioids, but they continued to push them anyway and to get people hooked on them. They knew what they were doing to people and that like deaths were happening and more deaths would occur. And what I feel like people don't really understand about psychedelics is that of every Schedule One substance listed on that, on the schedule, LSD and psilocybin are the only two that have almost zero toxicity, meaning you would have to take like 1,000 doses for it to kill you, but they're also completely non-addictive. And that's when psychedelics were brought to the United States, particularly mushrooms in the 1950s. The original research was about how mushrooms could be used to treat addiction. They're actually addiction breaking.
Really?
You can't get addicted to them. It's the opposite. So if you look at rat studies, like if rats are offered nicotine, cocaine, alcohol, nicotine, all these things, right? Rats will go back and they tap the little lever. They're like, give me more, give me more. But if offered the chance to tap the lever for more LSD, for more psilocybin, they won't tap them. There, and as speaking as someone who is a facilitator, who is obviously like, I think it's important for me to know what I'm talking about and to continue experiencing my work, even though I don't have to. I no longer have anxiety or depression I'm trying to treat, but it's important that I just, stay abreast of everything. I don't like, I can feel it in my body being like, oh, I don't really want to do this. Like, it's a whole thing. And do I really need to look at my emotions again? It's not this, there is no urge. It's not like once you get started drinking, and good for you for never having drank, right? Like I definitely have. And, once you get a couple in you, it's like, well, I'll have a third or a fourth. That is not the way it is with psychedelics.
Yeah. Okay, that is so interesting. I didn't know that. And so
Hmm.
then the next question is after a certain amount of time, because you've been doing this for 4 years,
Yeah.
do you feel you still need to take it consistently, or do you feel like your body has connected now where you don't need it?
I 100% don't. But again, it's more just because this is my profession. If this wasn't my profession, I wouldn't anymore. And if
Okay.
for any reason someone like doubted me, I would be happy to do an experiment with them and I would not touch it for a year, 2 years, 3 years. And I know that I would be good because I can just feel that my baseline is different. And I'll just give you kind of an ideal like or an idea of clients that I work with. So like let's say we're working together one to one. I would say it takes us anywhere between one round, meaning like 30 to 60 days of following a protocol on and off for microdosing, to sometimes like 3 or 4 rounds. It kind of depends on like where we started and where you want to go, right? And you take breaks in between. That's really important to take a break, just for tolerance. But then you're good. People on average report an increase of 40% increase in well-being overall, after beginning and ending working together. And I tell those people at the end, okay, so you might want to come back to microdosing once or twice a year. It just really depends on how you're feeling as sort of maintenance. But I've had people who finished and I've checked back in with them and they're like, oh yeah, no, I haven't. And like a couple of years, but I still feel really good. So it does work. And the reason that it works is because I pair all of my teaching with integration tools. So it's not just like popping an Advil or any other pill out there, right? It's like you still get to do the work with it. I didn't say this. I don't know who said it, but I thought it was great where it says like psychedelics assign the homework, but it's still your job to do it.
Mhm.
And that's what I love about it too, right? It's not some, and again, I have no like judgment against like Ozempic, right? But if you're not also like learning your internal cues for hunger, if you're not eating your protein, if you're not working out, you might lose weight, but you can't be on it forever. And like, what's going to happen after, right?
Yep. And I've heard a lot of people that go off and they gain it all back, if not more. So, and I think that that's the part. That's a really good analogy. Is you got to do the homework.
Yeah,
So,
with anything. Like there is no magic pill for anything, and I think we need to stop looking for one.
mhm. No, that's cool. Okay, so I've got this really curious
Hit
because if
me.
it's illegal, then how do you get it across state lines so that somebody in a different state where it is illegal can get it without being in trouble?
Yeah, fair, totally fair question. So I moved to Kansas City from California. California is where I got into psychedelics.
Mhm.
Obviously, a very different scene, right? So we have places like San Francisco and San Diego, and those different places are opening up for decriminalization. Different places you can literally go into a dispensary and get psilocybin microdosing capsules. So the three companies that I work with, I have one in Canada for my Canadian cuties where it is legal, right? And then I have two that I work with in California. And so I don't have anything to do with the sale, distribution, etc., sending of microdosing capsules, but I do like those are companies that I know, like, and trust. I use them myself. I've been to their facilities. So I do put my clients in contact with those companies and they do ship nationwide. I work with someone in every single state. I work with someone in Utah and they look like vitamin capsules. I wish I had one here, but I'll just show you my, they really do look a lot like my little, this is my B vitamin complex, right? But it's in a capsule. And so they don't say like psilocybin on the on the bottle. They just look like my vitamins and people receive them just fine. But I do understand that like if that's not something you feel comfortable with, that's not something you feel comfortable with. But like I also don't have an that's just kind of our endpoint. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So, okay. No, that's good to know for people that want to. No, I think that that's the thing that a lady told me once that it's kind of like an Advil, as you mentioned, just working in the background, taking away the pain. It's working in the background, taking away some of the anxiety or depression that you have in your brain. So,
I mean, it gives you, that's what's really important though. Like to your point, it does like in the moment when you're taking it. But if you're not doing something while you're taking it to make those changes stick, then what you're going to have is a good day and not like a great life. And so we need to make sure you're like really connecting with the lessening of depression and anxiety in the moment while you're having an on day so that it carries into your off days. But you mentioned chronic pain. I've worked with lots of women who have fibromyalgia, and it's worked really, really well for them. So there's so many cool things that microdosing can do.
that's amazing. All right. So, is there any questions that I haven't asked that I should have? Because it's intriguing, this whole
You
thing.
know, I think for people who are just like, wow, I don't even know, like, is this something that's good for me? I have a really quick free quiz. You can go to shouldimicrodose.net and take it. It's like 11 questions, shouldn't take you more than 2 minutes, and it'll very clearly tell you, like, nope, because of, X, Y, or Z, yes, or maybe, but like it's worth having more of a conversation. Which is a great way to just like, I always want to save people time. I would hate for someone to like start doing all their research and then find out, you know what, this is just not the thing for me because of a very clear reason. And then let's see, question that you should have asked that we didn't already discuss. Um, I just hope that people really understand like microdosing is not scary. I don't think having a larger journey is scary either, but I really control for like set and setting and things like that. But if someone's like, this is really for the person who feels like they've tried all the things and it is not working for them. And it's not because like you aren't working hard enough or there's something wrong with you. It's just your brain. We can use a little bit more gas in the fire. And that's what this can do for you. So I hope like for people feeling, I don't know, I've tried everything, nothing's worked. There is a solution for you, I promise.
So, and let's go back to the big pharma. So, my first husband, it's genetic, like, and I won't get into that, but lots of mental issues.
Mhm.
And his mom suffers, like his family. And Fen, I don't know if you remember Fen like 30 years ago,
I
35
don't
years ago,
know.
but
Mm-mm.
he went from this like person that couldn't focus and really get anything done to a hyper focus. He lost a ton of weight and he was just able to just perform, like do what he
Uh,
needs to daily functioning. And then it came out where it does something to your heart and like it can kill people. So they like did away with it for a while.
oh,
Um,
was it like a stimulant like for ADHD?
yeah, it was, and other
Got
stuff
it.
like and depression and stuff. And so, and legit, it did have a lot of side effects. And so, it's that type of thing that I mean, it sounds like this is something that can do the same thing, just in a natural, safe way.
Yeah, there's not a list, like unless you're allergic to mushrooms, in which case obviously can't microdose mushrooms, doesn't matter like what kind they are, then there aren't these side effects. For people who like do have like some sort of heart issue, like an arrhythmia, having a larger, like a full dose is not something that is safe for them. Just put that out there like now, but it's there's not enough in a microdose to mess with your heart. So whereas like even Advil has side effects, right? Microdosing, you're not gonna have that.
Yep. No, I was allergic to ibuprofen for a long time. So,
Yeah, there you go.
okay. So, I want to talk about the business side real fast
Okay.
because I know we're almost, do you have time? Or do you
Yeah,
have,
I mean.
okay. With the building your business, how are you getting your clients?
Oh, I'm so sorry it cut out for a second. So you said
Yeah.
when building my business,
How,
blank.
how, how do you get your clients?
Oh, how do I get my clients? Thank you. Great question. Instagram. I do a lot of organic marketing on Instagram, through content. I love being on podcasts. I love having these conversations. So definitely having people find me on podcasts. Now that I have been in business longer, referrals are a great source of business for me. I always think like the best thing that anyone can do in business is to create a happy client that they already have, because a current happy client will lead to future clients, and it's always easier to like get a client in that way because there's built-in no like and trust. Yeah, I mean, I have a website, where people can come in and check out that way, but like in terms of organic foot traffic, I'm not sure that that's like um my biggest channel. I did do ads for a little bit and then Meta decided they didn't like my ads. So that is not something I've used in over a year. But I would say Instagram is my main client acquisition tool.
And are you a solopreneur? Do you have an assistant?
Yes, I have an EA. I would ultimately really like just an OBM and then maybe have her subcontract some people and just be able to do more getting out my emails and stuff like that. But I do currently have someone and that's great because I just like that's not my zone of genius, like making a checkout link, doing all these things. So that feels good to be able to really just focus on the actually coaching my clients and hosting retreats and things like that.
All right, so you said OBM. So for our
Mhm.
listeners that were like, what does she mean by that? Go ahead and explain that.
Yeah, so an OBM is an online business manager, and it's kind of like bringing in a boss for me, right? And a boss for my business of like, okay, here you're gonna launch here, and we're gonna be focusing on this special for this program here. And then they usually do the thing where they'll hire other subcontractors, right? Because like in terms of hourly wage, like I shouldn't be paying them to get my email set up for the week, right? Like they're directing someone else who's doing that piece. But that would just feel really good because right now I am definitely I'm the CEO and it's like again it's something where I would love to delegate that and let someone else run the scene behind the show so that I can really be in like my zone of excellence, which is the work that I do in facilitating.
And usually people talk about VAs. So how did you get hooked up or how did you find your OBM?
So I don't have an OBM. I just have my
Oh,
EA right now. And she was
okay.
a former client who it was really weird. She at one like right when I was making a list of like what do I want someone to do, she said, "Are you hiring in your business?" And I was like, "Oh, interesting."
Uh-huh.
And so we, had a conversation around it and that is yeah, that's how I found her. But I also know there are great agencies out there. So plenty of options. You don't have to like just know someone.
No, but what I'm hearing our listeners is she has help so that she's not doing everything and she can focus on what she really enjoys. And so again, that's a common theme is get some help so that you're not overwhelmed and doing it all. So
Oh my gosh, yes. No, I could not do it by myself. Well, I could, but I would just be absolutely miserable.
yep, yep, no, that's so true. All right, so you gave the website once, but if our listeners wanted to find you, they're like, oh, I need to find out more about this and what it is. How would they do that?
Oh yeah, so shouldimicrodose.net is just my quick quiz, but if you want to just learn more about this work or me or whatever, you can go to juliecyvonne.com. It's my name, JulieCyvonne. Same thing for my Instagram handle as well, Julie Cyvonne, no spaces, periods, etc. And if you're curious, you can always send me a message. I answer my own DMs. Um, would love to connect further.
Okay, well, Julie, thank you so much for being on.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it and enjoyed this conversation.
And Unbreakable Mompreneurs, it is so important to find your peace And I always talk about peace, passion, and purpose. And today it's about peace and making sure that you have peace with yourself. And if you're struggling and you've tried everything else, like Julie said, and it's not working, then contact her and really go to her website and see if it is for you. So go out and make it a great day. Beautiful moms, remember, you are unbreakable. Keep illuminating the world with your strength, pursuing your dreams, and reveling in the splendor of motherhood. This is Charisse Walker, bidding you farewell for now. Stay tuned for more empowering conversations on the next episode of the Unbreakable Mompreneurs podcast. Until then, keep shining bright. Signing off with love, Charisse Walker.